Well, hey everybody, I'm Bonnie Curry, and this is my buddy, Danny Gokey.
What's up, everybody?
Glad you are here today. So I thought about lots of different things that we could do whilst discussing new music, new things that are going on in your life, and we could do that. Or we could do something that I deeply love.
Wow. Edible Legos?
No, they're not
We're
edible.
going to eat them?
So, I was talking to a friend of mine that said, you should build Legos while you're talking to people. And I said, why? And she goes, because you love them. And I do. I've been playing and building Legos since I was a kid. And I never grew out of it.
Is this your collection?
No, this is my grandson's box of fun. So this is just when they are being little hooligans, which they are often that kind of thing. I take this and pour it out and I say, all right, let's build something. And it doesn't matter what it is, let's just build something. So Danny Gokey, before we begin talking about your music and your songs and whatever is going on in your life, let's build something.
Let's do it.
All right. So as they fly, and they will, by the way, what is going on in your life? What is making you super happy right now?
Well, the fact that we're building Legos right now. Like if my son were here.
Do you not do Legos?
Well, it's interesting. I just did. So I'll do like devotionals on my social media. Right. And one of the last illustrations I did was with the Lego set.
Really? What did you do?
What I said was that I use the Lego set and I pulled the instruction manual and I said I liken the Bible as the instruction manual of life.
Okay.
Like Legos, they give you an instruction manual so you know how to build. And I was just likening it to, if you don't have the instruction manual, so let's say that this was supposed to be a car. Right. And we threw the instruction manual and we decided to just build by just guessing. We'd be experimenting.
We would.
And that would lead to frustration.
Right. And probably a really bad looking car.
Yeah. Well, it probably would never turn into a car because, And so, anyways, I use that as a really good example. Yeah. And so I actually like, so I do need an instruction manual. I do need the Bible. I do. I'm not sure you want me to experiment with this.
Do you find yourself winging life? And how does that go for you?
I do. I've actually have winged life on my talent, and it's not good because that's a sign. One of the things that I've been addressing is, you can be talented, but you can just go up unprepared. And your talent can only take you so far. But if you're prepared and talented, forget about it.
An example of something that you decided to wing it with your talent, and how did it go?
So sometimes if I have a lot going on, I won't have time to go practice a song or something like that. And then when I get there to sing the song, I'm like, oh shoot, I should have
practiced this.
I should have practiced because when you practice something, it gives you confidence, and confidence will give you like an authority to do it. So. And I'm not a person who likes to practice a lot.
I don't either.
And so that's where. And so my new mantra is just, do the hard things because you always come out on top.
I'll tell you, I always wanted to play the guitar. Always wanted to play the guitar. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are going, well, you could play the guitar now. I certainly could. I really could. The thing is my parents found out I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and they bought me a starter guitar, which fantastic.
Okay.
And I sat down with said guitar, and I realized I could not play it well right out of the gate. In fact, it sounded awful. And I knew that I could take lessons. I knew that I could do, I could do all the things that would make me better at it. Yeah. And I had no patience for it. And I never learned to play the guitar. Singing was one of those things that came really naturally to me. I didn't have to practice as much. And so I did that. And I don't know where I could have gone with it had I actually applied a little more in my life. And I think a lot of times with our faith, that happens as well. I think it's one of those things where you're just going through your life. You're just kind of going through the motions and you go, okay, I can do this. Yeah. I can lift my hands. I can listen to KLTY. I can praise, and I can get home and I can be a good parent. I can be a good husband, a good wife. But if you don't practice, actually put some application to it, imagine how much better you could be at it.
That is so key. And I relate to that. I think there's something about us. I would assume you're a creative, since you like to sing. A little bit. Creatives at times can be undisciplined, which becomes the Achilles of our gifting because we wing. I know I've done that, and one of the things that I'm trying to do here. So one of the things I like to think about is it's never too late to become what God has called you to be, right? And so we must remember that. So in the seasons of discouragement, when we look back at our lives, we're like, oh man, I could have done more, could have been more. We say, no, it's not too late to become what God wants me to be, and then start again. One of the key factors in the scriptures talks about that wisdom. If you notice this in Proverbs, wisdom always has the word discipline next to it.
Right.
Often. So discipline and wisdom go hand in hand. And so that's one thing that I also am not a fan of is discipline.
I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, you know, it sounds awesome. A little bit more discipline in my life today.
I know. You're exactly right. That's exactly right. But now I'm seeing the value of it, right?
How so?
Well, I'm seeing, it's kind of like what you said. I'm seeing in my life, well, where could I be had I disciplined myself? And so I no longer want to ask that question. I'm now disciplining myself.
What does that look like?
Well, one of the areas, it might not look like it right now,
Right.
2024 was a year that I looked back at my life and I said, all right, what do I want to change? And what do I want to, because I'm in the halftime of my life right now. Meaning the halftime is like, I probably have the same amount of time left to live.
Makes sense.
And so the halftime is saying, well, what do I want to do different? I'm in that, because I'm ready to go play quarter 3 and 4.
Right.
And I want quarter 3 and 4 to just outdo what I did before. Not because I want to like prove something,
right,
but because I know that God created. I was reading this today in a book I'm reading called Heart Renovation by Dallas Willard. And he said, what makes someone lost? Right? He said, if you lose your keys to your car,
right,
what does that become? Those keys become useless. And he said, when we look at the idea of God, eternity, hell, and heaven, he said, you have to think of it more like you become useless to God if you reject God. Meaning he created you for a purpose. If someone was created for a purpose, that means they had something to do. And if you reject God and say, I don't want you to, and you are governed by your appetites and you're governed by what you think, feel, and want, you become useless in the hands of God. He has a use for everything. And so I thought that was an interesting illustration. And so I want to make sure I'm very useful to God. And because without God, I can do nothing. Jesus said, I can do nothing. We can do a lot of things, but they can be very self-focused and self-righteous. And I love Dallas because it's called Renovation of the Heart, how to take the gospel to change you from the inside out. And so I've been useful to God in the past, but I want to keep that same energy and even be more useful to God.
And is that what this new sort of album, these new moments in your life, is that sort of in that same zone for you?
Well, the songs wouldn't be about that, but when I do write songs, I try to make them from heaven's throne. God, what are you saying?
Right.
Because what you say will have a greater impact than me just being creative and looking cool. And so, yes, there is that aspect of it that when I write songs, I want to make sure that they are useful in the hands of God. But that's typically by just writing the messages he wants to write.
So in this stage of your life, kind of the halftime, if you will, what are some of the things that you're applying to your family? Because I know how busy you are. I mean, being on the road, traveling the way you do, that takes a toll on everybody's family, no matter what you're doing. How are you doing like deeper dives into your family at this halftime place? What kind of time are you allotting for yourself, for your family right now?
So I decided not to do a spring tour.
Whoa, that's a big deal.
Yeah, because I'm the one who makes the money in the family. That's how I go make money.
Everybody go, wait, what?
Yeah, I think I shocked my team because, my management, a lot of people depend on me.
Yeah, did they sit down and go, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Is this a thing?
My manager was a bit nervous, rightfully so. But I had never done that before. And so
it's a very new thing for you.
It was, but I knew also it was the halftime. And I had to go look at and say, what do we need to cut off and what do we need to add?
Right.
And so that was a real big part. And I actually kind of love it because I'm re-looking at everything. And I'm pausing long enough to do that.
Right.
You got to pause long enough to recalibrate.
Right.
And that's
kind of
what
like I'm pondering my Lego build right now.
I mean, it's cool.
Well, it's something. And that's what I kind of like about moments in your life that you can go, look. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a lot of structure to what Danny is building. There's none whatsoever with mine. And that does feel a bit on brand. Because again, I love the fact that you're applying some kind of more focus to your life right now.
Oh, yeah.
In the weirdest way, at this stage in my life, I'm a little more okay with it being a little unstructured. It's tough because, again, I know that with raising kids, you're very focused on, I need to help these people grow up to be good people. Like I
Yeah.
want my kids to be really good people. You also
Yep.
have to keep them alive, which is a full-time gig, especially when they're
Full-time gig.
little, because they don't necessarily want to be alive. They seem to be really intent on
Yeah.
unaliving themselves.
Little kids
big level.
especially.
But I find that whereas I wanted all that structure with my kids, when they were younger, and I wanted them to be good people, like you're
Yeah.
doing with your kids. I'm
Yeah.
raising this kind of thing. I'm at this place with my grandsons right now where I'm like, I'm a little more okay with this. I'm a little more okay because I don't have to necessarily make them good humans. I just
Yeah.
have to
Yep.
enjoy them.
Yeah.
So at this
Yeah,
place
I agree
in
with that.
time,
I agree with that.
what are you most looking forward to in this kind of second half of your life
Yeah.
right now? Deep questions
Yeah.
over Legos.
Yeah, it is.
Danny Gokey.
How did Legos take us this deep? I look forward to, this is going to sound maybe cheesy, but it's not.
I like cheesy.
Becoming more available for the use of God. Like I look forward to that.
That's not cheesy, love.
Well, I appreciate that because it's sometimes oh, Danny, come on, what's the real answer? But I think, like you said, enjoying more of life. That's what I hear you say. You're learning to enjoy more.
Yes.
And now I think there's a dichotomy between pursuing is that sometimes you can forget to enjoy, right? And so, are these yours?
Oh, you take anything else.
I'm trying to finish this.
Figure out how to put wheels on this.
What did Jesus say? If you want to build something, you have to count the cost. If there's no wheels, oh,
There's wheels. There's total
There
wheels.
is.
I'm just trying to figure out, can I put wheels on this? So how are you applying that in your life right now?
yeah.
There's a lot of people that have that desire of their heart to be used by Jesus more in their life, but sometimes the application of that is really, really difficult. What does it look like for you right now?
Well, for me, it looks like relooking at everything in my life. I guess that's probably the best way I can put it. Relooking at everything and recalibrating to make sure that everything I am doing is fruitful and not
Right.
just ambitious, right? We can be ambition or we can be mission-minded, right?
Right.
As the old saying says. So I want to be more mission-minded. Paul said, when you think of life is a vapor. If a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is a day to the Lord, he has the perfect what do you call that? The perfect view of time. Where
Right.
sometimes we don't, and we're
Right.
like, I can
Yeah,
waste
that
my years.
perspective.
Yeah, the perfect perspective of
Right.
time. And so I think one of the key things is understanding that, I'm getting lost because I'm so lost in building this. I'm getting,
This wasn't a
I know,
great
so
idea.
sorry.
Yeah, somebody actually mentioned that. They were like, well, it takes focus to do, Legos. I was like, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
We keep coming back to that.
it takes,
Perspective that God has
Yeah.
versus what we
oh yeah, with the Lord, right? A day is 1,000 years. That means if a day is 1,000 years, our lives are only a couple hours, right? If 100 years, is that going to the moon?
I can put my God back on it.
That means he has a perfect perspective, and that means life is only a couple hours long, so every moment does count, right? And what is the thing that counts love? What's the thing that counts love, right? If I do this or do that and have not love, it's nothing. So I mean, ultimately, I think enjoying your family and those things
Right.
are the most meaningful things.
Tell me about the new song.
I Got You.
Yeah.
I was sitting down I did a writing camp for the new record, meaning writing camp is to get a bunch of people together, you just write as many songs as you can.
What does it look like, writing camp? Do you guys do
No.
s'mores?
No, that's.
Because I would want s'mores at my writing camp.
And I see, I wanted s'mores and they wouldn't give it to me. Capital, what's wrong
I
with
feel
you?
like your camp needs to be upgraded, my friend. If you don't have s'mores, what it is?
Well, they do bring good food, but no s'mores,
I
unfortunately.
mean, seriously, come on. Whoever Danny's people
What are we even doing?
Get him s'mores for his writing camp. All right, so you go to writing camp.
We go to writing camp and I just share them the vision of what I'm feeling like the Lord is, the ideas that I'm getting from God. And then we begin to get in rooms and write them out.
Right.
And so I go into different rooms, bring ideas, and I just pop in from room to room, help, add. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
It is kind of
That's
crazy,
awesome.
but it's very effective.
Yeah, I bet it is.
So I got in the room with these two other writers.
Right.
And remember the Covenant School shooting in Nashville that happened, I forgot how long ago that was. Was it 2023? I'm not sure. And one of the writers, her name is April, she was just sharing how her daughter was in that school when that took place, and just
That's your.
the amount of, how terrifying it was to not know if my kid is safe. Well, her kid ended up being safe, praise the Lord, but some kids didn't. But the theme of the song is like, no matter what happened though, as long as we have God, even if they would have lost their child. And the principal of that school, I think it was the principal, lost his child. But because he had Jesus, he can go on the funeral and say, I'm not going to stop. I'm back down from the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because that's what was under attack, was the gospel message. The message of Jesus Christ, right? And that's under attack right now. But because he had Jesus, he could put everything in the right perspective. People look at the story of, so I got you, saying, in the storm and the pain and the waiting and the flood and the fire and the breaking, I'm standing on you and I won't be moved. Yeah, I'll get through because I got you. Think about Job, the ultimate story of losing it all.
That's terrible.
It is. And,
really and truly, like when you consider what Job went through, like it wasn't just a couple of waves. It was, so you have this? No, you don't. So you have these people in your life that love you and you love them? No, you don't.
Yeah.
So you have these things that you own and you take care of? No, you don't. It was a non-stop wave of removal in his life.
And people look at the last chapter of his life and they'll say, well, you know what, God, getting a new family is like getting second place. It's a runner-up prize. And so when people look at that, and that goes to show you, and I understand.
I was about to say that is something that you have some experience with.
Yeah, and I can understand why people say that, but the reason why Job didn't look at it as a second place prize was because God was always number one. So God gives us kids for enjoyment, spouses for enjoyment, wealth, house for enjoyment, but it can never fully be enjoyed until he takes first place. And so most people, when they get to the Job story, then it's like deconstruction time. I can't serve a God who can do that, right? And as we know, it was the enemy. He didn't know there was a cosmic challenge going on in the heavenlies. And the devil, who does not believe in true love, the devil who thinks it's all a farce, brought that challenge to God, right? And as he challenges God, he only loves you because you surround him and protect him. And God was saying, I'm going to go ahead and show you that love is the most powerful thing in the universe, and that actually, I don't even know how to put it into words, but actually that love is a real thing, because watch how he responds. And, God gives us all things for the enjoyment, but you can't enjoy life without God. You can't enjoy wealth if you don't have God at the center. It'll become your God, and it'll control you. And people who are wealthy, and even people who don't have finances, you'll find people who are poor and people who are wealthy to be some of the most greedy, stingy people in the world. Same thing, you'll find people who don't have God but have marriage, and they're miserable in their marriage because they want more, or they don't want to be with the one. So, but God teaches us how to enjoy all things richly. So that's the story behind Job. I don't know why we started talking about, but I got you. Here's why. I got you.
It's quite the windy path.
Yeah, it is. I got you is going to show us, as long as I have him, if my kids are removed from my life, I lost my wife, I still can get through it because I have him.
Right.
In his presence is fullness of joy, pleasures forever.
And you did walk that. I mean, that's the other thing, is understand something, that this isn't somebody just spouting something, kind of going, hey, if these horrible things happen to you, you can get through it. Danny's living, breathing proof that you can. Losing his spouse and going through that moment. I just find that the perspective that you have on this is probably pretty healing for a lot of people that actually enjoy your songs, because they understand that you've kind of walked this, and that this is coming from a real place. And so I think I got you is a bit of truth in your own life as well. It's just kind of a reminder to you that no matter what's going on, including not doing a spring tour, which actually, I really am. Like, I think that's really tremendous. I think any time that you can actually put your life on pause and truly focus on the things that matter, I think God honors that. I really do. I think it's scary. We had a moment in our lives when we were younger, and we just had to make a decision about a job versus spending more time with our girls. And we did the scariest thing possible. We took the leap, and we said, okay, we got to walk away from this, and we did. And I kid you not, it was less than a week later, another job offer came through that was, hey, can you do this? And by the way, you can work from home and do these other things, right? And so I'm just saying that taking that big old jump, the Indiana Jones leap?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it was the third one, where he's there in front of the thing, and it says, take the leap of faith, and he just puts his leg out, you know what I mean? And you just go, oh, and boom, there's rock right below it. He just couldn't see it. I feel like that's a little bit of our lives right now. That's you not doing your spring tour. That's sometimes taking that leap where you didn't think you were going to have a job, but maybe God's got something else in mind for you. I like the fact that sometimes you take that leap of faith, and I got you is the message that you get from heaven at the same time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We've already begun to see the blessings of God. So me and my wife made a faith list, and we started understanding, like, you know what? Since we're taking this, we're going to believe that God's going to make up for the parts. And when you walk by faith,
Right.
your whole trust and confidence goes in him, except your own abilities,
Right.
and it's actually more rewarding
Right.
to see it. So there it is. By faith we live
There
and
it
we
is.
walk.
There it is. So I want to point out again the hard Lego work that we have. This beautiful structure full of.
Do you know what this is supposed to be?
What?
As I started building it, the Francis Scott Key Bridge that just fell. I was just rebuilding it. Like, oh man.
I don't know what to do with that.
I just thought about it. I was like, I built this tower here.
You know what? We're rebuilding it.
I was like, you know, there's a day they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna
And
rebuild
you're
it in my
trying to
mind.
rebuild it right there. I made this thing, and I say,
What is this though? Did this?
I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of my personality right there, and it's just got no meaning, and it's a lot of
Oh,
just, and it
that
comes
doesn't
apart
move.
pretty easily with not a lot of structure
Sorry.
or planning. And most people that work with me will also say that feels very much like a Bonnie Curry sort of Lego build for everybody. A lot of structure, a lot of thought, wanting to rebuild a tragedy and build into people. And mine is a thing with a weird flower on the top and maybe a little stabby thing. I don't know. I feel like that's a good moment for both of us. So on that note, and look how well they work together. What? Me and Danny Gokey.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Not you. Here we go.
Not me.
So amongst the Lego, and by the way, you have to say Lego because Lego is plural. You can't say Legos. I learned that the hard way. I did a video once, and I said Lego, and wow, a lot of people came out of the woodwork on that one. So Lego is plural, so you can have a Lego, you can have Lego, so it's plural.
I don't know. I don't know if I can jump on that bandwagon. I don't know who your source is, but they sound wrong.
I had a lot of people coming out of the woodwork going, Lego is already plural. You can't say Legos. So
what's their source? I demand to know the source.
I just want to say for all those people that are big fans of Lego that heard Danny
that
say
disappoints me.
Legos, plural multiple times, I can give you his email address and
you can take it up with
his
me.
Cell phone number, and you can call him because there it is. They get a little testy about it. So Danny Gokey with your new song and a very cool perspective of this halftime in your life. Thanks for hanging out with me, building some Lego. Appreciate you, man.
Building Legos.
I'll give you his email. Text him, email him. It's I'm Bonnie Curry for 94.9 KLTY.
I'm Danny Gokey, Lego Bridge Builder.